Can understanding and growing with the 9 core competencies help your business grow? Business operating system, we're talking about 90, we're talking about Boss Up as a coaching team. The whole purpose of what we're trying to do is we're trying to get you better at the 9 core competencies. And why is that, you say? Well, quite frankly, what happens as business owners is we end up digging into those things we love and leaving out those things we don't love. And that just means there's a whole bunch of things that we don't do very well. So we need to dig into them. And the Business Operating System 90 and the Boss Up team will help you delve into the 9 core competencies. These competencies, if you master them, you will definitely succeed in your business goals. Vision and purpose. What is vision and purpose? How do we ensure that our company has a perfect vision? Or not a perfect vision perhaps, but a good vision that everybody understands. Is it clear to our customers? Is it clear to our staff? Is it clear to everyone that we're dealing with, our suppliers, what the company's vision is and what the purpose is? We drive towards a purpose. It's the North Star, which is the thing that really pulls us forward. What is your strategy and planning? If you then look at strategy and planning, unless you have a strategy, unless you're planning, you're standing still. So you need to dig in, you need to understand how to strategize, how to plan, how to make sure you're moving forward. And then how do you process and execute this? How do you make sure that you're actually delivering on that strategy and on that planning? Now, none of this happens without leadership, leadership and culture. How do we make sure that our leaders are all following the same processes, understanding what the values of the company are, what the core values, understanding how we expect our leaders to speak to our staff. Are we a culture that shouts and screams, or are we a culture that's inclusive and gets everybody involved? And this is something that has to come from the top and it has to go down. And it's part of the 9 core strategies. How do we do this effectively? Then we dig into accountability and performance, right? How many times have you sat there as a business owner, looked back and said, wow, I just wish people would be accountable. I just can't get the performance out of them. But are you actually telling them what you're expecting? I sat back after years and years and years and realized, do you know what? I was just expecting them to be like me. I was expecting them to do the things that I do. And that's not working. That didn't work. It really is never going to work because we're a different breed from the staff. We are entirely a different breed from the people that work for us. So we have to we have to make sure that they're accountable. And by making sure they understand what they need to do, there's very clear guidelines. They understand the vision of the company, they understand the goals of the company, how they're going forward. That accountability becomes much more easy to do, and that massively affects performance. It really massively affects performance because people really want to perform well. And the reason they don't perform well quite often is they just don't know what to do. They don't know what's expected of them. Then we dig into customer focus. Every business needs to focus on the customers. Are you focusing on your customers enough? Do you know who they are, where they are? Do you know how to find them, how to make sure that they're happy? Are you constantly engaging with them to ensure that as the market changes, you're able to change with it? This is really a massive kind of step forward if you are able to get a review from every customer, if you are able to provide them exactly what they need and understand what the customer journey is. Now, financial management, right? We all know we should be looking at financial management. How does it work? Do you know every single week what it is, where you're sitting turnover-wise, where you're sitting profit-wise? Do you need to know that? I love knowing that. I think that's really important. And by ensuring that we know how we're managing our finances, we know what we're doing with that, we really are able to get the financial planning and management to a much, much better position. Now, we also need to continuously improve. How can we improve if we don't know where we start, right? So, we don't know where we start. There's no ways we can know if we're improving. And what does that improvement look like? Does the improvement align with the company's vision? Does the improvement take us towards our goals? Does the improvement ensure that our staff are feeling better and engaging more? Does the improvement ensure that our customers are happier and we're doing the best job we can for them? All these things come under the 9 core competencies. Yeah, and then finally, if we are in a situation that things change, are we innovating on a continuous basis? Are we able to adapt? Are we able to say, actually, do you know what? Yeah, the market's changing. How do I know it's changing? Because things are moving around, and I'm watching the numbers. I know where I am. I know, I understand the layout of the company. I understand the layout of the market. So am I innovating enough to be able to adapt to that? Yeah, and then when things move over to whatever the new system might be, am I able to jump when I need to jump and not be catching up afterwards? So it's really important with these 9 core competencies that we understand what they all are, and within them, the concept, tools, and disciplines of the Boss Up and 90 program allow us to put this into a very, very small, scalable process where it's very clear what you need to know, and it becomes very clear actually what you don't know. And that for me was the biggest change, was actually understanding, do you know what? I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this. And it allowed me to either employ someone to be able to do that, or allowed me to upskill myself until I was at a stage that was acceptable, and then finally at a stage that I'm happy with. So the 9 core competencies, these are essential concept, tools, and disciplines that you need to use in order to build, scale, and exit your company. So if you are having trouble with this, why not reach out? I'm happy to have a conversation and see if there's any way we can help.